And what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It is your boy Cheap Ludes back again with another edition of the tier list series. So today we're doing shooting guards. Before we get started, parameters. I'm only doing guys who are position 1 shooting guards. So primary position shooting guards only. Small forward / shooting guards will obviously be over in the small forward list that I'll be doing tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. S tier, unquestionable best cards in the game. Chances are you're not going to agree with some of these. Let's just be real. Chances are you're not going to agree with the majority of the cards ranked on this list. But I will say that I try to do it as unbiased as possible. So I'm not factoring in my own playstyle as much. I am factoring it in a little bit, but trying to factor in multiple playstyles. Trying to at least a little bit do both gens, but for the most part this is going to be a current gen list. I will talk about next gen a little bit. I'm also not factoring in fully badged up versions of the cards because it just doesn't make sense. Because any card fully badged up is going to be good. Saying a card is going to be S tier because when it's fully badged up after you spend 200k and grind for 47 hours to get enough Hoff badges is not really conducive to how good a card is and if you should go buy it. So, A tier. 4 or 5 tool guys, one shade under S tier guys. Like, these are going to be the most contested ones of the A and S tier when it comes to shooting guards. It's probably the least balanced position in the game. Going to be a lot of guys down in like C, D, and B tier, and just a few guys over in S and A tier. You'll see when we get there. B tier, 3 or 4 tool guys, still really good cards, or cards that were once elite that are now not as elite, or just on the cusp of being A tier, just not quite at those guys' levels. C tier, 2 or 3 tool guys. Very good cards still. They're good for like lower overall cheesing potentially, or like different game modes, etc. So, D tier. Specialist guys. They're good at a couple things. I'll go into them exactly when we get to that point. F tier guys. Now, these guys I don't necessarily think are worthless to a certain extent, which is why I don't have a worthless tier. I just think they're guys that no matter what your playstyle, you can get somebody who's a little bit better for that playstyle. That being said, if you're wet with any of these guys, then obviously you're going to like them more than the tier they're assigned to. So, like I said, I tried to be as fair as possible. So, we'll get underway by an obvious S tier, which is Tracy McGrady. Out of all of the Opal cards that we currently have available, in my opinion, Tracy McGrady has the most longevity out of all of them. Meaning he will still be a usable and good card even as we get later into the year, which is always the case with Tracy McGrady cards in 2K. Regardless of badge count, stats-wise he's nearly perfect as is. He's got a good badge count. He'll still be usable and still be over 100k in probably like April, May even. Yeah, I could see that because the Pink Diamond was over 100k literally till like June last year. And he's just such a good shooting guard. There's a reason you see every team in the 250k tournament using this card, which I don't base that on anything. Like, I don't base people using them in 250k at all in my power rankings, but it is important to note he's just huge. He has a good wingspan, very good jump shot for a majority of people. It's one of the easier to time jump shots that you can just kind of pick up and shoot around with a couple times and get used to it. It's not a specialist jump shot at all. Trey Burke bases fire. It's my favorite in the entire game. And yeah, dude, it's Tracy McGrady, come on. Now, on the opposite side of the coin, I love DeMar DeRozan. Like, this card, I liked it a lot when it came out, but truly just at this stage in the game, because he's so outdated, there's just cards that do everything he does but better. At the time, he was really good at attacking the rim, could shoot a good mid-range, and he could defend. But just when to take that into account, and then the fact that he can't shoot threes, which is not a detriment to a certain card whatsoever, in my opinion anyway, it's just time to throw him into F tier. Ben Gordon's still B tier, in my opinion anyway. Yeah, he's a little bit small and he plays better as a point guard, but Ben Gordon's still an incredibly good card, and people don't really give him too much respect anymore. He was one of those flash in the pan cards that was like, oh, this is the best point guard in the game, and then we got Colin Sexton and everyone forgot about him. Still solid. Bingo Smith, D. I mean, he's alright. He plays good defense. He has a cool afro. He's just mildly okay. Just because he can shoot a little bit better, I think he's better than DeMar DeRozan overall. He has better defensive badges as well. Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal is also B tier. Yeah, he's that little bit small as well. He cannot play the point guard, so I would still say Ben Gordon is a little bit better than him. But at the same time, he's still a really, really good card. And anyone that tries to tell you he's like a D tier card is crazy, because the card is really good. And for the majority of people, picking up Bradley Beal and slotting him into their lineup will improve their team, obviously, if they don't have these top tier shooting guards. Brandon Roy. I would say Brandon Roy is D tier at this point. Like I said, just his ability to shoot is a little bit better than DeMar DeRozan's, but he dunks really hard too. He does a few things really well, but he's just so outdated. He's probably the first card from D tier to get moved down to F, if I'm being honest here. Clyde Drexler. Drexler is still a walking bucket. He plays good defense. He attacks the rim. He shoots okay. His jump shot is fixed this year. It's not as terrible as it was last year, in my opinion. Clyde Drexler's solid. D'Angelo Russell, I would say a C tier as well. Somebody inevitably is going to bring up his lack of like clamps and stuff, but he's still a really good card with a really easy to time jump shot. He can handle the ball. He plays point guard as well. D'Angelo Russell is a sneaky good card, and if you're running Bingo Smith, Brandon Roy, or DeMar DeRozan, is it a stretch to say that D'Angelo Russell would be a better option for you? Because I really don't think it is. David Thompson. I do not like this card at all. You could argue he's better than Brandon Roy, but I think David Thompson and Brandon Roy are very similar. And I think Brandon Roy is obviously just a better version because he has that Tracy McGrady jump shot. But it's hard to really say. Devin Booker, probably C tier. I mean, he's okay. He isn't as good as Beal and Ben Gordon. That's basically what it is. Drazen Petrovic. Drazen is a sniper, so he fits the C criteria. He plays defense okay as well. He's not terribly good. He's not terribly bad. His jump shot's pretty nice. He can shoot from like half court in next gen, which is cool. But I would say C tier kind of makes sense for him. This Dwayne Wade is probably C tier as well. There's inevitably going to be someone in the comments that says he deserves to be in B tier, but yeah, if you badge him up all the way, probably. But like I said, I don't factor the badging up thing as much into my tier list, so I would say C tier makes a lot of sense for him. Zach LaVine's A tier. I don't really particularly like Zach LaVine in the game, but he is like a little mini T-Mac, and obviously that's going to get put him in A tier. But altogether, he's just a really incredible card, and once Moment Super Packs come out and his price drops, he's going to be a really good option for a lot of people. I would say Zach LaVine's better than Ben Gordon and Bradley Beal. Comment down below if you disagree, I guess. Hal Greer, D. He still shoots really well. I would say he's better than David Thompson and DeMar, but once again, these two guys are pretty close to getting dropped. I'm waiting on Walter Davis because I love this card, and I just know I'm not going to put him where he needs to go. Geoff Petrie, C. Him and Dwayne Wade probably deserve to be right next to each other. Geoff's a little bit better offensively. Dwayne Wade's a little better defensively, but they're pretty similar. Stackhouse is C as well. He plays really good defense. You can equip the shooting badges to him, and if you do, if he's badged out, I would say he's probably B tier. I actually like him a lot, but non-badged out, it's probably C tier, like if I'm being honest. Jamal Crawford. Jamal Crawford's still really good. He's got that Tracy McGrady jump shot, I believe it. I think he has Trey Burke base with a different upper. Let me double check on that because I'm not 100% sure. Just because I haven't used this card in a really long time. He plays zero defense. Like, I'll tell you that right off the bat. He plays no defense. His bat, release 27 upper, so he's got the J.R. Smith upper. He plays, like, no defense whatsoever, so he might get dropped to D tier. But D'Angelo Russell also doesn't really play any defense either, so these two guys are hanging on by a thread as far as what C tier is. John Havlicek, S. Look, there should be a infomercial on TV about a class action lawsuit for people who have been victimized by this card because it's just ridiculous. It's so annoying. You always run into this tryhard with like every card in the game, and he has Havlicek, and the dude just doesn't miss, and it's so frustrating. But I gotta admit, dude's good. Just really hate him, but he's good. This James Harden is D tier. You can argue that he's not. I don't know. He doesn't play any defense. He's kind of slow for some reason. I'm not a huge fan of him. If you're a big James Harden fan, you can argue he's C tier. You can try to argue that he's better than D'Angelo Russell, which realistically, I'll put D'Angelo Russell down. I like D'Angelo Russell, but I can't say... Yeah, I'll probably put Jamal Crawford down here too. Even though I like these cards a lot, they're just not as complete as the guys in C tier. Even Devin Booker plays better defense than those cards. That being said, Walter Davis is C tier at that point, just because I like him a lot. He's really good defensively. He's just a way worse offensive version of like Zach LaVine. Jaylen Brown. Yeah, if he's badged up, then probably C, possibly even B tier, but at standard, he's probably D. He's just outdated, but I really like this card. This Zach LaVine, probably B. Zach LaVine's solid. I mean, his badge count's a little low, like he came out in what, Season 3? And he was like everyone's favorite card for a little while. He's still good. I mean, he's still got 25 golds, 10 hoffs. Like, he's got solid badges. He still plays pretty good defense. I mean, there's nothing really particularly wrong with him. His Zach LaVine base is really solid, too, so I'd probably put him in low-end B-tier territory. Jim Jackson. I actually like this card. I would put him at C-tier. I'm sure someone's going to disagree with that, but I think it's accurate. Evan Fournier. I'd probably put him at the top of B for now. I might move him up to A because I actually really like this card. Allen Houston. I think he's the best of these like glass cannon, all offense, no defense guys. So I would say there. It makes sense. Jeff Ballone's not good at all. I'll be honest, he's not. Brandon Roy's probably going to get moved down to F2, which hurts my soul, but it is what it is. Dwayne Wade. I'd probably put Wade in A tier still, honestly. He's just so good defensively, and he plays point guard, which is huge. I'm sure, once again, people are going to disagree with that, but I think that just makes sense. You still see people running him consistently for a reason. Aaron Afalo is C tier, for sure. I'm tempted to even put Aaron Afalo in B tier. The only thing that's keeping me away from that is the fact that his jump shot is a little bit slow, and he seems to be sluggish at times, but other than that, he's really solid. Rip Hamilton. Look, badged up Rip, he's C, possibly even B tier. I mean, that obviously takes into account that the other cards are not badged up, but realistically, off the rip, he's probably D. He's very similar to Jaylen Brown. Malik Steele. Wherever Evan Fournier is, Malik Steele deserves to be right there. I might move him up to A tier. It just depends how the rest of the list shapes up. But for right now, I'm going to put him at the top of B tier. And I know I can already hear the keyboards clicking because Malik Steele is a meta god right now, and he's fresh in everyone's mind. So people are tweaking about it. I can already tell, but give me a second, I'll even it out. Ronald Murray's C. I mean, he's okay. I don't get the hype around him. He's a good card. Do not get me wrong, but we get a new good Ruby and a new good Amethyst every single week, so. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of fervor surrounding this card right now that he's like the GOAT Amethyst or whatever, but he'll get forgotten about in 2 weeks, just like Felipe Lopez already did. Jason Richardson's still C tier, possibly even B tier, in my opinion. He does lack a few badges, but if he's badged up, he's B tier, but standard, C. Luka, C. Still Luka Doncic. They fixed his jump shot, gave him base 29, which is great. Still 6'7", 2-guard, good size. Could have more speed, I will say that. But altogether, he's solid. He's better than the guys in D tier. Dantley, I don't know. At C tier, I mean, he's good. He's a very solid card. He's free, which is huge. That being said, his player model is weird. Like, he's 6'5", but he looks so much smaller, man. He's not that great of an outside shooter. I will say that. The best way I can describe Dantley is he's better Walter Davis. Like, but not even as good defensively. He's just a really weird card. He's really good at attacking the rim. He's got jump shot 18, which is like Aaron Afalo's release, so I think it's appropriate to kind of put him right in that same category. I would say he's towards the top of C at this point, but I don't think you can put him too much higher. Joe Caldwell. He lacks a lot of badges. I would put him down in D, but if you do badge him up, Joe Caldwell's nice. He's probably like C tier or something. Possibly even B, but Buddy Hield. I love this card. Like, I really do. I don't know what it is. He plays good defense. He knocks down like almost every jumper he shoots. He's just that little bit small, and he's that little bit slow compared to like other cards. Like, when you compare him to the guys in B tier, he's not even close to as good as these guys, which is the only reason he's down in C. Ruby Kobe's C tier. He's still good. Like, he's a Kobe Bryant. This is kind of what I was talking about when I said that the shooting guard position was one of the most unbalanced positions in 2K21 this year. because there's like a bunch of middle of the road guys and then a few elite options. John Starks. I actually like John Starks. I'm gonna throw John Starks here and throw Hal Greer down. John Starks is good. I don't think he's F tier by any means. He's still very usable. People say he's slow, but I like him a lot. I'm not gonna lie. JR is good. I would probably put him in B tier, honestly. JR is still very, very usable. He's got one of the better jump shots in 2K this year. I personally think he's B tier, but he'll be the first person to get dropped out of C tier. Everything I said about Buddy Hield goes double for JR, but JR is a much better defender and has that little bit more size, which is huge. That being said, I will say right off the bat that JR and Zach LaVine are the two worst cards in B tier, in my opinion, because Bradley Beal is kind of like very similar to JR, just slightly better version of that, but I think they're close enough that they should be in the same tier. Kawhi's S. He's just as good as a majority of these cards offensively, but he's got the Kawhi Leonard defensive animations. The Hall of Fame steady you would think is like a huge deal for this card, but it actually makes him more overpowered, in my opinion anyway, because people will try to contest the shots, and with that Hall of Fame steady, he'll make like a very large percentage of it. Of them, I should say. And it really throws people off too. Especially when they jump and try to contest a 3 and he just cashes a white with like 35% contest. It's like super annoying. I would say he's S tier, personally. But he might move down. S tier is weird because I think there's a few more S tier guys than my point guard list for sure. Kevin Porter Jr. C tier as well. I mean, he's really good. But, you know, he's a Ruby. Klay Thompson. Oh, I'm about to piss people off so bad. I just know it. A tier. Look, he could be S tier. You could argue he's S tier, A tier. It just depends how you feel about Klay Thompson in game. But at the same time, like, you have to lock in just such a ridiculous lock-in for this guy. And I don't know. I don't think he's better than Kawhi. Personally, I just don't. He's got a great badge count. Obviously, he's got a 98 three-pointer, which is ridiculous on so many levels. But every shooting badge in the game, he plays good defense as well. He lacks some of the rim running stuff. Klay Thompson's release on quick is a little weird, too. Now, the one thing I will say is I don't know if the Klay Thompson center glitch extends to this card. Now, that is the reason I'm putting him in A tier as opposed to S tier. Now, if it is confirmed, because I have not used this card incredibly much because I did not lock in for it. I played a couple games with it. I've run into it online a few times, but I haven't noticed because they did all their, you know, matchups and stuff. So I'm guessing it's still in the game. And to a newer player, the reason these tier lists are for people who are deciding which cards to go after, right? Look, there's always some wannabe comp level asshole who jumps in the comments for, not mine specifically, you guys are pretty cool, but like a majority of tier lists, that just flames whoever's doing the tier list for like putting a card too low. But like at the end of the day, I do this for people who are trying to make decisions on which cards to go after, and like they don't know about the Klay Thompson glitch, and then they lock 1.5 million into Klay Thompson, and all of a sudden he's switching and guarding the center every possession. That's like a huge deal. Like, that's not cool at all. And I don't really know much about his dribble moves, but he seems to be alright, I guess. And it looks like he has similar ones to Havlicek and Harden, but I just think Klay Thompson is a little too... He's not as complete as the guys in S tier, is my point. I'm going to get flamed for that, but whatever. Manu, D. He's good. He's better than the Pink Diamond Manu. I will say that. This one, also not going to go over well, but Allen Iverson's still a C tier guy. I truly believe that. He's still really good. Like, he is. He can cook people. He has some of the best steal animations in the game. He has intangibles that make him C tier, not D tier. Yeah, he's not meta. He's too small, whatever. Doesn't matter. DBG said he's trash. I honestly do not care. The card is still good. Like, that's it. Kobe's still B tier. It's Kobe Bryant. He's still got a good badge count, good animations. Kobe. What do you expect? This Manu is F tier. The very first Pink Diamond that came out this year as far as like packable. Still good, but yeah. This one hurts. I'm sorry. Pink Diamond Tracy McGrady. I have forsaken you. It's just, if we realistically look at it, like most of these guys are better options than possess Tracy McGrady at this point. just because of how god-awful he is on defense. I just don't understand that. They couldn't give him, like, silver clamps at the time, even, like, bronze that would have helped him. Like, just a couple of low-tier, like, defensive badges, or the ability to add them would have been great. This card would be, like, C or even B tier at that point if you could just add defensive badges to him, but you can't, because 2K hates everybody. Shay's B. Shay's actually really good. He's not worth his price for sure, because he's like 300k, but they're gonna drop him in super pack at some point. Yeah, you know Felipe is C. You know that's the case. Doug West is like D tier. I would say he's even like F tier. He's not very good. This Devin Booker is probably D tier. He's not terrible, but at the same time, like, this one's better. Can't have two Devin Bookers in the same tier. James Harden goes in here just because he's the better version of these glass cannon guys, so C tier makes sense for him, but still don't think he's incredibly good. Michael Redd, I think, is D, personally. I'd probably put him in C tier, honestly. He's okay. He's a good sharpshooter card. I think he's one of the lower C tier guys, but it makes sense for him to be here. Okay, this one's definitely not going over well, but Mitch Richmond's B tier. I don't care. Low-end B tier at the absolute most. Look, somebody also is going to come in the comments and be like, how are Mitch Richmond and Malik Sealy on the same tier? Look at the spectrum, all right? I have them at the end. Those are the lower B tier guys. These guys are better. I will say that. The higher guys on the left side, they're always better. There's a reason for that. Like Zach LaVine, Mitch Richmond, JR, they're at the bottom of B tier for a reason. Kobe's better than Bradley Beal. I think Kobe's better than Ben Gordon, too. You could argue either way. But that's how it goes. In my opinion, I will say right off the bat that I think, Tracy McGrady's better. All right, Pink Diamond Jordan. He's still so good defensively and so good rim running wise, and ball handling, facilitating. He's still C tier. Like, he's still very good. Oh, Monte, poor buddy, D tier. He's just outdated. Oh no, Nick Anderson. I love Nick Anderson, but yeah, he's not it anymore. It hurts. It hurts so much. Nikhil, he's not good. Norman Powell's D tier though. He's still pretty solid. Otis Birdsong. Yeah, if he's badged up, he's C tier or whatever, but he's not D. Pistol Pete, still a really good glass cannon. Really ahead of his time card. Still solid. If you badge him up enough, yeah, he's probably C tier. I would say he's better than... Just because of the way he moves really well, he has the ability to play point guard. Like, if this Harden had the ability to play point guard, I would put him in C tier, but he doesn't. So, Ray Allen. I think Ray Allen's still legitimately B tier. Just because of that jump shot. Like, he's not worth his price, but he's still incredibly good. If he's badged up, it's tough. He's still got good badges, though. It's, like, very tough to really hate on this card. He lacks a lot in the badge department. Yeah, I don't know. Nah, I'd probably drop him to C, actually. He just lacks so much in the badge department. He only has that silver clamps. Oh, no. Oh, no. No, I can't do it. All right, realistically, Rex Chapman's probably F comparatively, but I can't drop Rex Chapman to F tier. It's not going to happen. D tier. Rudy Fernandez. I honestly think Rudy Fernandez is still B tier. Like, realistic, I really do. I don't know if anyone's going to agree with that, but I think he's still legitimately B tier. Now, like I said, I got enough space in A tier where I can maybe move someone up. Sam Jones is C tier. He still plays good defense, but this is not that great overall. Possibly recency bias, but recency bias in 2K is really just because the power balancing is all messed up and they make every new card that comes out significantly better than everything that came out before it to a certain extent, but James Harden is probably S tier. I mean, he's just super annoying. Like, he's so annoying. He has the ability to play point guard, which is huge. I am not a huge James Harden fan in-game at all. And I don't have the comic book versions on here, but they're the same anyway. But he's just so good, man. He's so good. He has a 99 draw foul tendency, which is another thing I wanted to talk about, which is part of the reason he's an S tier as opposed to A tier. This man draws more fouls and gets more and one dunks than any card in the entire game. which is super annoying. Like, it's ridiculously annoying. If you're an offline guy and you have this James Harden and you're playing on Hall of Fame difficulty, you are going to go to the free throw line so much. If you're playing online, you will too. He's got James Harden base on quick, which is nice. He's just altogether like a really, really, really good card. There's nothing I can say negatively about it. I mean, aside from the fact that he's impossible to get and way too expensive. That's it. Eddie Jones. I don't know if Eddie Jones is still B tier. I don't think he is. Personally, I like Eddie Jones. He was one of my favorite cards this entire year, but I'm not crazy. He's like a C tier guy. He's not on the level of some of these B tier guys. You could argue he's just as good as Rudy Fernandez or J.R. Smith, but I just don't think so. Moncrief. Moncrief is D tier. Let me explain, because I know people are going to be like, he sucks on offense. I know, but he's so good on defense that he deserves D tier. He is passable enough on offense. He can shoot a little bit. He can facilitate, whatever. But he has some of the better steal animations in this entire game. I keep this card specifically for steal-based challenges for a reason. Him and AI are a very potent steals-based duo. Terrence Ross is C tier, for sure. There's a lot of middle guys this year for shooting guards. A lot of very average shooting guards. Tyler Hero, I would say, is here as well because he plays a little bit of defense, but he's still a really, really good shooter. And Michael Jordan. Look, let's see. It's tough to tell. I honestly don't think he's S tier anymore at this point. This hurts, man. I don't know. Look, because the average player isn't picking up this card and just knowing how to Curry slide, right? Which is one of his big things. The average person watching this doesn't do 57 Curry slides a game. So saying, yeah, he's got Curry slide, I mean, that's not going to help the average person because they're going to be like, oh, he's got Curry slide. And then they're going to get the card and they're going to be like, wait, how do I even Curry slide? You know, and then they have to go watch 6 other YouTube videos to figure it out. I don't know. I just don't know about Michael Jordan. He's just never that great in 2K. I can't say he's like that much better than Zach LaVine, can I? Yeah, I'm gonna drop him in A tier. I don't even care. I'm gonna get flamed for it, but I don't think he's on the level of the S tier guys. I really don't. Like, they're just a little bit more complete. Look, I'm a Bulls fan. I am an MJ stan. In my opinion, obviously, Michael Jordan is the greatest player to ever play basketball, right? He just is. But he does have a lower three-point rating than all of these guys. He, granted, is great at defense, has a little bit less size than these guys. Speed and speed with ball and ball handle are kind of off on this Michael Jordan. Like, he's got an 86 ball handle, which is not terrible, but it's not great. He just doesn't offer as much as the guys in S tier do, in my opinion. Now, you can argue that he does, and I'll hear you out, but I just don't know. Now, let me address a few things before I end this list right now. Malik Sealy. Yes, I know, he's like a little bit worse version of Kawhi Leonard, right? And if he's badged up properly, he's A tier. You could even argue borderline S tier, I suppose. I won't agree, but you can argue it. But off the rip, he is missing some pretty important badges in this year's 2K. So yes, like I've said in the beginning of the video, in every single tier list video that I do, yeah, if a card's all the way badged up, for sure. He's also missing some pretty important hot zones that are relatively annoying. One of which is the right corner, right top of the key, which is where I shoot a lot of three-pointers with my shooting guard. Very annoying, because that's kind of one of my spots, so maybe I'm just hating on him for that. He's got great everything. He's got that Ray Allen base. Like, that's all fun and games. Like, I like all the stuff going on with this card. But, like I said, he's missing a few important badges, not a crazy amount. Like I said, he's the best card in B tier. It's not even close. You can argue he's better than Dwayne Wade. I would hear you out on that one. But speed with ball at an 88 is not great. He has 93 regular speed for sure. He's missing Deadeye. He's missing Flexible. He's missing Green Machine. Let's see what else. He's missing Stop and Go. He's missing Dimer. Space Creator is missing. Pickpocket is missing. His fine on attacking badges, but at the same time, like those are kind of huge. Like you kind of need those. Now he's got good tendencies. 95 on ball, 95 contest, 85 block, 95 pass intercept, with only a 5 foul tendency. Those are good. I guess right off the bat, I can say I just don't know if he's that much better than Fournier. Maybe Dwayne Wade's the one. Like maybe Dwayne Wade. I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna move Sealy up because I think he is that little bit better than all the guys in B tier. But just know that I think he's the worst out of the guys in A tier. So anyways, as always, it's been your boy Cheap Ludes. Go down in the comments, disagree with me or whatever. I usually respond back to everyone, so that's cool. Check my description for all my stuff. I just dropped a super pack opening video that hurt my soul on a deep, deep level, so go check that out. I'll link it at the end of the video. And as always, I'll be back tomorrow with small forwards, power forwards, and then I'll be back Thursday with my centers to finish it out. So stay tuned for those. Always check the playlist if you want to watch all my old tier list just to see where guys used to rank up. That's always an option. I'll link the old playlist at the end. So anyways, guys, have a good day. Peace.